Welcome to my channel, Real Money, Real Talk. My name is Sandy and I'm the Insurance and Private Equity Advisor.
And I'm Gina. So today we would like to answer some of our fans' questions. So we have received a lot of questions about RRSP and TFSAs over the last few weeks, and we want to take this opportunity to answer some of these questions on our channel so that we can clear up any confusion you may have. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to leave in the comments below and we'll try to get to those as soon as we can.
Yeah, especially right now, it's an RRSP season. Lots of people have different questions. Is it a good fit? And what about, if you are a dual citizen, would that affect you contributing your RRSP? So, Gina, let's show up some of the questions and then see I can answer all of them. And maybe that those questions will be applicable to you, that you may have the same question. So I want to make sure I answer them all. So I've been receiving lots of questions about RRSP and TFSA for the last few episodes I have done, and I want to put them into a summary and answer all the questions because those questions might be applicable to you when you watch my previous videos.
So let's get started because we have a lot of questions. So the first question for Sandy is, I have an RRSP account as a benefit from my company. They match my contribution. With it, I obviously can't invest in a specific stock I want, but I will have to follow the fund plan. I still have a lot of contribution room for my TFSA account, and I would like to take out money from the RRSP and move it into TFSA. I understand that taking out money from the RRSP will be taxed with my annual income, but I would like to do it because I believe investing on some of the stocks now will profit in the future. Is that a good idea?
Okay, so first of all, let's address a few things over here. So if your employer is able to match RRSP contribution, first of all, it is a good idea to always maximize that one because it is a free money where your employers give it to you. The second thing is, typically these employer pension plans, they're in the fund, they're in the pool of the funds where managed by a third party. So the question is, yes, you cannot invest on your own. It's managed by a third party. However, that one's usually be really taken care of by professionals managing that pool of funds. The third question is, if you want to take out that money from RRSP for whatever reason and invest into a different vehicle, then you have to calculate what the tax that you have to pay, whether it's actually worth it in order to do so. You can actually also to invest your RRSP into different investment on your own. So in this case, these questions probably saying that, is it worth it to take out money from the company, the RRSP from the company that he put into it, and then put into a TFSA account, am I correct?
Yes.
So well, first of all, you actually need to find out, is it gonna be locked? Does the employer actually allow you to take out the money? Most of the time, typically they don't until you leave the company, which will convert a pool RRSP into a locked RRSP, another word called LIRA. In that cases, once you leave the company, you have that locked RRSP where you can't really withdraw the money until a certain age. However, you can choose different investment that you want to do for that LIRA, for that specific account. Now, let's say, assume you can take it out, the money, to invest into, for example, like TFSA or like non-registered accounts. Then usually what I would like to advise people to do that is maybe take out at the right timing, right? Maybe not necessarily when your income, you're still active working, you're making great money that's above 50,000 a year and above. Maybe consider you can take out that money while you are on parenting leave, right? Maybe you are unemployed, or maybe you are on vacation that your income is not as high. Those are actually the best time to take out and then maybe reinvest back to a different vehicle. But generally, if you are already in a situation you're earning money, active income, and the bracket is higher, I don't recommend just to take it out from your RSP that way, because the tax, it's gonna push you likely to the next higher bracket. Even if it doesn't really make a lot of sense, because now you're accounting on hoping that your return in your TFSA or non-registered account is gonna be higher than what you're paying for the tax, right? So that's a little bit more like give and take. It's a little bit more gambling. You can't guarantee that result, right? So I would say that it really depending on how much tax you're paying, what is the expectation from the return, right? If you're looking at the stocks, right now it's very volatile. Like you could gain a lot more potentially, or you could be also the other way. You lose it more. Now you have to suffer, pay more tax. On top of that one, you lose your investment.
Okay. Other than checking the tax bracket, is there anything else I should consider? And you know, just from a few things you just mentioned, you should check with your employer, you should check with your account. Other than those, is there anything else somebody has to consider?
Yeah, so when you kind of check your tax bracket, I think first thing is you need to understand what is a taxable income, right? You need to take a look at your net taxable income, which means it's after all the deduction, right? Maybe you have children at home. Maybe it's eligible for some child tax benefits. Maybe there are some other deduction that you'd be eligible for. For example, there's this common kind of mistake people didn't know is a certain pension plan that actually takes up your RSP room, which means you can actually write off. It's called PA. Pension adjustment. So if you actually take a look at your T4 slip, if you do have that amount, it actually takes up your RSP room, which means also you can actually write off against your income. So that will be another, basically another part that you need to write off, right? So when you calculate your tax bracket, you need to take a consideration of all the tax credit, tax deductions, all that in consideration to know what your real net taxable income really is, and then from there, then you can see how much money you want to contribute into RSP or how much money you want to take out RSP.
That's interesting. So another question is, I heard RRSP has a limit every year, not like TFSA, it is not cumulative. Is that correct?
That's not right. There is a limit for RSP contribution. Well, first of all, it's your 18% of your income to the limit what the government set. So let's say if your income is 1 million, right, 18% will be a lot, right? So the government actually set a specific limit. You can check out my previous videos and then take a look. I actually explain a little bit what RSP really is, including the limits as well too. Now, when it comes down to the contribution room, okay, the contribution room, any unused contribution room previously, it will actually carry over, accumulate over time. So if you've never ever contributed before or you have missed a few years, these room will continue to accumulate it. Where can you find it? You can look at MyCRA, log on to your MyCRA account and take a look how much you can still contribute it. That's where exactly you can find your RRSP contribution room.
So another question that we have is that they want you to talk about what if they are dual citizen, for example, American and Canadian? What are the tax implementations or tax laws applied for these individuals if they contribute to RRSP and TFSA?
So between USA and Canada, there is a tax treaty between the two countries. First thing is anything related to these type of tax particularly, it's always a good idea to double check with your accountant. At the end of the day, our video is not to give you a tax advice because we are not a tax accountant over here, but to give you a little bit idea, a direction, right? Is there going to be an impact? The answer is yes. If that's the case, for sure, check with your accountant who knows the two countries in terms of the tax law. So in Canada, what we have for the RRSP, it's actually treated as a you won't be able to tax on the withholding tax portion because it's being exempt on the RRSP to the Americans, right? But a TFSA in this case might be not, right? So in that case, you wanted to check to see if you still need to pay the taxes in that portion. Is it going to be true tax-free because you are Americans? So these are the things that you want to find out from the IRS perspective, but also the CRA, which is from Canada perspective. So the best way I would be actually to hire somebody who's actually know both tax laws to file your income tax and also your asset as well.
Okay. So the next question we have is, what will be your withdrawal strategy to minimize taxes if you retire at 40 but with 20,000 yearly expenses? Would you start to take out from RRSP first, then TFSA, or a mix? What would be the most tax efficient way to withdraw money for living expenses before the CPP, OAS, and GIS kicks in?
Well, first of all, if you want to retire early, CPP, OAS, and GIS, you might be not eligible yet. You have to wait until a certain age where the government were starting to give that one out. And also OAS, it's called old age security. So some people, depending on your income at that time, you may not be also eligible as well too. So depending on your income bracket and depending on your annual taxable income at the time to see what you are eligible for all these government pension plans or government support for the seniors. All right. The first thing what you want to know, let's say if you want to retire early at age 40, okay, and then whether you want to take out all the money from your RSP or how do you actually efficiently take out money from RSP, the first question that you want to ask yourself is, what is your net taxable income at age 40? If it's going to be a certain level where when you take out amount of money that's going to push you to the next income bracket, then at that point you maybe want to reduce the amount withdrawing from the RSP and then supplement the withdrawal maybe from TFSA or something else. Okay, if that's not going to push to the next bracket from the withdrawal amount from your RSP, then you can withdraw up until that amount before it pushes to the next bracket. So it will be depending on your scenario at the time, what your income really look like after all the deductions or eligible tax credit. Then you can backwards calculating how much you should withdraw from RSP and then how much you could top up from TFSA.
Okay. So our next question is, someone is wondering if you can tell them about withdrawing money from RRSP for life learning plan or home buyer's plan purpose.
Okay, so first of all, just to make it very clear, RSP in general, it's account, right? So it's actually not locked, even though it's meant to be to help you save for retirement, defer the tax, give you a little bit tax break while you are working, building your career when you're at a higher income, okay, while you're working. So there is no lock period whatsoever unless it's a special plan where you get from your employer, then it could be a lock plan. So in that cases, you can actually withdraw anytime. So I got people asking me like, can I withdraw? Yes, absolutely. Just simply call your financial institution or the advisor who help you to contribute RSP. You can take out RSP anytime you want, but be a little bit aware there is a withholding tax, which means that say if you take out 5,000, there is an amount specifically going to be deducted right away. So your net of taking out the money will be less than 5,000. Plus, also be a little bit aware each financial institution they maybe have withdrawal fee as well too, plus the taxes. So just be a little bit cautious on that. Now, if you want to use RSP for life learning plan or for first time home buyer plan, these two particular plans, you do not, it will not make your RSP exposed to any tax purposes. It's in a way to encourage you to save, and then a way for you to be able to use your RSP money without any tax implication. But if you're not, if you're trying to withdraw the money not for these two specific purposes, no matter what, anytime you withdraw the money outside the RSP container, it will always have a tax implication for it.
Okay. So for the next question, as a work permit holder for 1 month, I want to start investing in TFSA. Am I eligible?
Well, first of all, what is the eligibility for TFSA is what you need to understand. First, you need to be above 18 years old. Second is you need to have a valid SIN number, SIN number. And then the third part is you need to be a resident of Canada. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're a citizen or not citizen, you just have to be able to physically live in Canada as a resident of Canada. Okay, if you are able to meet all these three, that means you're able to open a TFSA. Now, I do come across where sometimes people ask me like, well, they checked with the bank advisor and they couldn't open it. Well, simply just maybe that advisor did not know. Right? You can check with a different advisor or go to different branch. You should be able to open one because I have personally seen international students open TFSA in that situation. So you will be able to do that, yes.
Okay. Next question. I'm planning to keep US dollars in my TFSA account for the S&P 500 index ETFs, where the dividends payout is relatively lower. And 15% withholding tax on dividends is really not a big figure considering the bigger and better return percentage for long-time holding comparing to Canadian equivalents. Can you give me some suggestions?
Yeah, so first of all, in this particular case for this person's question, if the withholding tax isn't a lot in that sense, then it won't necessarily matter too much to continue to put dividend stocks or ETFs into your TFSA. At the end of the day, the main purpose is to have your investment return tax-free. So if withholding tax, it doesn't really cut too much into your profit-wise, withholding too much in order to be able to reinvest it, then that's okay. You can continue to do TFSA. But if it's starting to have like huge chunk of withholding tax in that situation, then perhaps maybe consider to do the US stocks in RRSP or maybe even non-registered account.
So this is our last question for today, and this is from an international student. I filed an income tax for 2019. I opened a TFSA account in 2020. Will I get contribution room from 2019, which is $6,000? I'm still an international student. I also turned 18 in 2015. However, I came to Canada in 2019. Can I use TFSA contribution room from 2015 to 2019? Or will I only be able to use TFSA contribution room for 2019 and 2020 because I came to Canada in 2019?
First of all, let's go quickly review what the qualification for TFSA. First, you need to be above 18 years old, you need to have a valid SIN number, and you need to be the resident of Canada. Which means in this particular case, because you aren't a resident of Canada before 2019, that's why those contribution room that you do not gain back. Your contribution room only given to you at the time you're residing in Canada. What does that really mean? Let's say even if you are a Canadian, okay, regardless if you're international student or not international student or a PR, permanent resident, or non-resident. So basically the moment you change your status from a resident of Canada to non-resident, regardless whether you're a citizen or not citizen, the moment you do that, your TFSA contribution room for any new upcoming one, it will be ceased. However, if you accumulated in the past for those room, you get to keep those one, but you don't grow the new one. Okay, so in his case, right, basically his room only started to happen in 2019. So whatever happened before, because he was never here before 2019, all these rooms you cannot gain it back. You have permanently lost those ones. So only carry forward more future, right? Basically beyond 2019, you get the annual TFSA contribution accumulated all together until the time you become a non-resident of Canada.
Great. So I hope you guys find this video informational and you have learned something. If you have any other questions, please feel free to leave a comment and like and subscribe our channel.
Okay, I look forward to more questions.